everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Queerly Natural, where we talk about queerness in the natural world. We discuss different traits and qualities of animals, plants, fungi, and more, and how they relate to queer identities in humans. Some may argue our identities are not natural, and we are here to say they queerly are. We are your hosts. I'm Ilana.
I'm Hannah.
And I'm Elizabeth.
I want to start by thanking all of our listeners who have stuck around while we took some time to regroup, including everyone who has continued to support us on social media and Patreon. Here's the first in a new batch of episodes. This one is about Desmodus rotundus, otherwise known as the common vampire bat. We talk about this charming little airborne mammal, its society and way of life, and exactly how it came to be named after a common myth, as well as how it's queer. Enjoy! Can you guess what we're doing this week?
What are we doing?
We're doing a bat!
I love bats.
Oh, I thought we were doing anteaters based off the song.
I don't know what song that... I was like, is this Jaws? Is this Sharks? I don't know what's happening.
Batman, my favorite childhood superhero, Anteater Man. Bats. I was referencing bats.
Anteaters should have a song, though. They deserve it.
We will be talking about vampire bats.
Yay! Batman plus Dracula. What a good combo.
Right? I originally couldn't decide which one to reference in the beginning. Whether I should have done like, I don't know. What's a vampire sound? Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Today, we will be talking about the common vampire bat specifically, because there are several different species of vampire bats. This one's name in Latin is Desmodus rotundus. It's a small, leaf-nosed bat, and it is found throughout much of Central and South America. Its habitat includes forests, open areas, and it roosts in caves and tree hollows. And the northern portion of its range extends into parts of Mexico up to only 170 miles from the U.S. border. And then the southern portion of its range can be found in parts of Argentina and Chile. It can also be found on the Caribbean islands of Margarita and Trinidad. So they're very widespread.
I've been distracted this entire time by the descriptor leaf-nosed. And I love it. Is it because, like, their nose is pointed up like this?
Yeah.
I'm pushing my nose all the way up and back so you can see my nostrils.
Wait, I need this visual. Hang on.
I wish we could provide the visual that Ilana is providing us.
It's fine. You don't need to see it. I just like that descriptor. I've got a leaf nose.
Yeah. It's because their nose is, like, really flat and like flared. It's pretty cool looking. So yeah, their geographic range, or the like places where they're found, is very large and spans a very large portion of Central and South America.
That's great. Who wants to miss out on the opportunity to have a bat bite them?
They're not gonna bite you.
Actually, something I did find out is that they do bite humans.
Mm-hmm. I heard field stories of a biologist who woke up with what they thought were matching mosquito bites, and it was not.
But they mostly bit cattle.
We'll talk about their diet more later. They do eat mostly cattle, but they have been reported to bite humans too. So, onto the discovery of the vampire bat. The vampire bat was described or discovered, quote unquote, in 1810 by a man named Etienne Geoffroy Saint-Hilaire, a French naturalist. He was a colleague of Jean-Baptiste Lamarck, and he expanded and defended Lamarck's evolutionary theories. And if you're not familiar with Lamarck's evolutionary theories, they were pretty out there.
Yeah, Lamarck's the guy who is like, if you stretch your neck really long, your offspring will have really long necks, right?
Yeah, your babies will have really long necks. If you like get really jacked, your babies will be so beefy and jacked.
Imagine if you could just be born super muscular.
That's how that works.
Yeah, that's what he said. Or in more like general terms, he said an organism can inherit from its parents physical characteristics that the parents have acquired by use or disuse of traits during their lifetimes. So like if you work out a lot and you build muscle, your babies will inherit lots of muscle. That's what he said.
This was determined not to be correct, by the way.
So yeah, Geoffrey St. Hilaire supported Lamarck and like thought he was right, and he expanded on his ideas, but in expanding them he accidentally stumbled upon a correct biological concept. I don't know, it comes across a lot like a broken clock is correct twice. So he established the principle of unity of composition. So he believed in an underlying unity of organismal design, or the idea that nature uses one plan of construction for all organisms, but is varied in its accessory parts, which he took to very strange places as a concept, but at its base is pretty much the concept of homology, which is still used in biology now because it holds up based on evidence. And what homology is the concept that there are traits in different organisms that appear different, but that have similar anatomical characteristics that indicate that they came from a common ancestral characteristic. So an example of that would be human fingers and human finger bones being similar in like structure and organization to the finger bones of like bats, like in their wings. Like that's an example of homology.
Right. Or like the remaining vestigial bones and like flippers of aquatic mammals, right? Like whales and dolphins.
All of these structures that we've named, like the fins of aquatic mammals, the arms of humans, the arm bones of bats, like all of them are similar in structure because you have like the two arm bones, a bunch of little wrist bones and like palm bones, and then like distinct fingers.
Yeah, extending finger type bones, yeah.
Yeah, and they all appear similar in like base design. So like this guy kind of accidentally came up with this one correct idea.
That's kind of impressive.
Right, but let me tell you like kind of the crazy places he took it. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
He believed that the segmented legs of arthropods were homologous to the internal ribs of vertebrates.
Oh!
Yeah.
They don't have bones. They don't got no bones.
Yeah, and leg segmentation is not at all comparable to our rib structure. What?
Our ribs aren't segmented. Yeah, right?
Imagine having ribs that could segment and move. That's a horror movie right there.
No, Ilana, why would you do that? That's now my nightmare. Why would you do that? No.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so he basically, like, the way my source put it is that he believed that insects could walk on their ribs.
Ow.
What?
Like, they don't even have ribs, like Ilana said, because they don't have bones. They have an exoskeleton.
See, now that's my new nightmare.
That one's not my fault.
Yours didn't last very long, Ilana. Now I have to think about insects with, like, bones popping out of them that they don't even have and moving on them.
Yeah.
It's the Halloween store theory. You know how, like, in the Halloween stores, they always show, like, insect skeletons, and you're like, insects don't have skeletons like that. They have exoskeletons.
Yeah.
Like the spider with bones.
Yes.
Yeah,
See?
that is pretty funny.
Spider don't got no skeletons.
There ain't no bones in there. Anyway, so yeah, he thought that insects walked on their ribs, which is not correct. He's also said to have stated, and this is a quote, "There is, philosophically speaking, only a single animal."
What? What animal? What's the one animal then?
I don't know. I don't think he knew either.
Oh my God.
I think he was referring to the common design that unifies all animals, that this principle that he's credited for is like based on.
Then why aren't insects walking on their legs? Why is it their ribs and not their legs?
I don't know. So yeah, that's the guy who described the common vampire bat to Western science.
What a character.
All right, so we've gotten to the portion of the episode where you two will be describing what these vampires look like. In the literature, it's so funny. They don't call them vampire bats. They just call them vampires.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I got a picture. He's cute. He's got really big pointy ears.
Yes, very big pointy ears. And they have sharp little front teeth, right? Like you'd expect from a vampire. They got those little fang toofers in the front. Bleh. I've come to suck your blood.
He's hairy. His eyes are pretty tiny, and his nose and mouth protrude. And yeah, you can see his nostrils.
His eyes are little compared to his, like, ears, but they're so lifelike. Like, he just looks like a cute little mischievous puppy.
They have a little sparkle in there.
They're like wings, so it's weird because it's like the skin for their wings is like just skin, like it's very thin.
Yeah, it's very sparse fur.
And like you can really kind of see it like go around the arm bones, which I think are actually fingers, if I remember correctly. The finger bones.
Yes. Yeah.
And do they have little, like, do their finger digits have, like, a little, like, curved tip to, like, hook on, right?
Yeah, to hang, right? When they open their mouths, they look very happy.
Yeah, they're pretty cute. Their ears have ridges on the inside, which I think is really interesting looking to you guys. So they're kind of like upright dog ears in the general shape of, like, the curviness at the bottom towards the point of the top. But the insides of their ears are ridged, kind of like a seashell. And I'm guessing that's to help them hear their echolocation better.
They've got white tummies and grayish backs.
Yeah, the fur on their backs is like a medium dark brown.
Like a tawny gray, kind of.
Ranging to brown. Yeah, can be grayish, brownish.
Their nose kind of just looks like it's been smushed. Like if you ever like go put your face against a window and just kind of drag it downwards, kind of how it goes.
Yeah, if you guys know hognose snakes, it's a little like that. They're really cute. Oh, they're littler than I thought they were. There's one being held by a researcher. It's so cute. Oh.
They're like little poofs with very long fingers that are wings, and their back legs are tiny.
Yeah, let me be scientific about it. Okay, so their body length is about the length of a thumb, if you're not including their wings or back legs extended. And the length of their wings, at least this one, it might be a juvenile, because I really did think they were a little bigger than this. But this one shown, its wings are probably the span of a palm to your tip of your fingers. This is really high on the adorable scale. I know we haven't had any species that I haven't thought were cute, and we probably never will.
I mean, it's the adorable scale.
Cute versus adorable. Yeah, these guys are adorable.
Right? Little teeny tinies.
They have long tongues.
I think we covered it. Size, color, really cute ears, and pointy teeth.
General facial features.
They don't have like a super obvious like thinner neck versus head area. It's just kind of how it goes.
Yeah, the head kind of slopes into the body shape. They're kind of what Ilana said. They're like a puffball with little extended wings.
I found the cutest baby photos.
Wait, you found baby photos? Dang it, I'm on the wrong picture. That one was making a really happy face.
Adorable. I love it. That's our unofficial physical description of the common vampire bat, or Desmodus rotundus. Here's the more official description. The common vampire bat has grayish-brown fur. The nose or muzzle is compact and looks kind of swollen. Or like we said earlier, it's leaf-like. I don't know, it's just kind of smushed up.
Yeah, pretty smushed.
They have pointy ears. Their wingspan averages 350 to 400 millimeters, which is, what is that in centimeters? 40 centimeters? Is that what that is?
Yeah, that's 35 to 40 centimeters.
Their head and body length is usually 70 to 90 millimeters. They have no tail. In the membrane between the hind legs, which is called a uropatagium. That was an interesting word. I didn't know that was like a thing that we've named. But anyway, in this species, that membrane between the hind legs is reduced. So it's smaller. Like there's less membrane connecting the hind legs than in other bats.
Cool.
Yeah, and the females are usually larger than the males, and the average adult weight is 25 to 40 grams, which is only about 2 ounces. How many ounces are in a pound? 16?
Yes.
Yeah, so they're pretty light. All right, so that's what they look like. So now on to their ecology, or like how they live in the world. The vampire bats are nocturnal, meaning they are active in the nighttime, and they spend their days roosting in tree hollows or caves. And if they're in caves, those caves are usually inhabited by several different species of bats. So you'll have thousands of bats. Some of them will be the common vampire bat. Some of them may be a different species of vampire bat. Some of them might be a fruit bat. You'll have this multi-species community of bats in a cave if they're in a cave.
That's so cute. I love it.
Right? Yeah. And interestingly, it was previously thought that vampire bats had one roosting spot and they returned to the same roosting spot every night. But a recent study has shown that the bats will actually move between several roosts within 2 to 3 kilometer radius. And the males change roosts more often than the females, likely according to climate and roost availability.
Couch surfing. They're couch surfing.
Vampire bats, as the name implies, and as we have implied at various points in this conversation, are carnivorous, and they practice something called hematophagy, which means that they consume blood. And they are dependent entirely on blood for energy and nutrition, so they don't eat anything else. And they mostly parasitize large and medium-sized land animals. And to clarify, they're called vampires, which may make you assume that they suck the blood. That's not true. Instead, what they do is they will grab the animal with their feet. Like if it's a horse, they'll grab by the mane, and then they'll hang upside down by the neck of the animal. And they use their incisors to remove a small patch of flesh, and then they lap the blood that flows out of the wound.
Okay. You know what? I would like that better from a bat than a horsefly, which is what horseflies do. The thing is, horsefly bites hurt so much, though, because they can't suck up the blood like mosquitoes. They have to lap it up. So they bite you, and then they twist their mouth part so that the blood will pool, which is why it hurts like a mofo.
That makes so much sense based on my experience with horseflies. I think this would be painful also, but yeah, horseflies are annoying.
I think that they would be worse than the horsefly because usually vampire bats will visit a single host animal per night to feed on their blood, but they have an anticoagulant compound in their saliva which prevents the wound from scabbing over or closing. So the animal will keep bleeding and they'll return to the same host animal to drink more blood from the same wound site on consecutive nights. And not only will the same bat return to the same animal and take more blood, but once the first bat has taken the flesh out and drunk its full meal of blood, other bats will follow and continue lapping from the same spot. So it'll be one bat, a lot of different bats, and then the next night it's the same bats again.
Ouch! Dang. So that's a really bad day.
I wonder if their saliva has, like, antibiotics or anything like that, but to keep an open wound for that long, like, ideally I would think you'd want the animal you're eating from to survive multiple nights and not, have serious infections that might affect you.
Yeah. How many nights is it? Do you know, Hannah? Is it, like, 2 nights or is it, like, weeks? Because their twofers are pretty little. I mean, it's got to be a smallish patch of skin.
I don't think the blood loss is that fast as far as I know, but over time as the blood slowly leaks out, the animal can lose like a huge amount.
Yeah, that sounds not fun.
Yeah, because it's not healing, and that's an open wound for multiple days. Like, I'm just curious if there's anything besides the fact that it's just continuously bleeding to stop the animal from getting, like, an infected wound as opposed to, like, a good blood source.
Yeah, right. You'd think that they would want to prioritize keeping the host healthy so that they could continue eating from it. You'd assume that there would be some mechanism preventing the blood from kind of like spoiling or becoming unhealthy for the bat. So yeah, the animal might lose a huge amount of blood. Vampire bats can also transmit pathogens like rabies to their hosts. So they can also be a vector for various diseases.
Fine. I changed my mind. I'll take the horsefly bite.
Yeah, bats are kind of known for being able to transmit rabies. If you ever get a bat bite, always go to the hospital.
Yeah. So like I said, vampire bats are found throughout much of Central and South America. However, their populations are concentrated around areas with extensive livestock farming. And when close to human settlement, vampire bats have been observed to ingest blood from cattle, horses, mules, goats, pigs, sheep, and also from humans.
Ooh.
But I found this cool study where they were looking to answer the question of what the bats' preferred hosts were, whether they preferred feeding from non-native livestock or whether they preferred feeding from native rainforest mammals.
That's such a good question.
Right? And to find the answer, these researchers sampled the wing membranes of 35 bats and also collected the hair from 20 of them.
Okay.
And these bats were found in Costa Rica, and the samples were analyzed for the chemical composition of the carbon in them because the food chain of livestock is different from the food chain of rainforest mammals.
That makes sense.
So grasses, which are the plants that livestock would be feeding on, are C4 plants, meaning that in photosynthesis, they use a carbon compound that has 4 carbons in it. And that is a unique photosynthetic process from other plants, which are called C3 plants. So rainforest plants would be C3 and grasses would be C4. So the carbon taken up by livestock is chemically different from the carbon taken up by rainforest mammals. And so therefore, depending on which of these carbons the vampire bats are feeding on, the carbon in their tissues would also be different.
So they could see a preference.
Yep, so they could tell which type of animal the vampire bats were feeding from more often.
Right.
So when they analyzed these samples from the bats, they found that the carbon was very similar to the carbon in livestock. So they very much prefer feeding from livestock over native animals, which I found interesting.
I would assume the natives have like different defenses for the bats, and so the non-native livestock are easier and are not defended in, the ways of co-evolving. So it'd be easier food.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, their main point was that the behavior of livestock is more predictable and their presence is also more predictable than the presence of native mammals. But that also makes sense, Ilana, that native mammals would have some sort of defense against this animal that they've co-evolved with for thousands of years versus livestock, which are kind of new to the vampire bat and don't have that arsenal of defense against them.
Right. And also maybe aren't the brightest at knowing areas to evade or get away from bats because they don't know the area.
Right, they're in a different habitat from what they themselves have evolved in. So yeah, so that's what I found. They very much prefer feeding on livestock that humans have introduced. Vampire bat colonies may contain up to 2,000 individuals, although most have 20 to 100.
That's a very big difference.
Right? I know. Up to 2,000.
Just imagine going somewhere and there's just 2,000 bats in the ceiling. It'd be great.
I would cry. I would be so happy.
It's like every Scooby-Doo movie where they go into a cave. Just
right? I'm like, what caves are you guys going to? I want to go to a cave with this many bats. Show me.
You'd be rich. Isn't bat shit very valuable?
Guano, yes.
Oh yeah, bat guano, if you guys didn't know this, it's one of the main ingredients in the cosmetics industry and it's worth a good amount of money. So there you go.
Gotta have that bat guano on my face. All good.
Cave of Gold. All right, so colonies of vampire bats can have up to 2,000 individuals. The female group is the primary social unit or family unit in vampire bat society, and this group usually consists of 8 to 12 females, many of whom are related to each other, but some of whom are not, and they're young. Males sometimes form bachelor groups of up to 8 individuals of only males, or they may roost in the same tree with female groups. Adults in a family unit often stay together for a long time, up to 12 years in some cases.
Wait, how long did they live?
Up to 20 years in captivity.
Dang.
Usually 9 years in the wild. So, up to 12 years. I guess if they're lucky enough to live that long.
Aw, babies. Stay together for life. I love it.
Right, so the adults stay together for a long time, up to 12 years, and they become very close. The group is mostly females. Even in groups of males and females, it's usually mostly females, each of whom usually cares for a single pup.
Okay.
So if they're in a tree hollow and the entrance is at the base of the tree trunk, of the hollow tree trunk, the females will congregate at the top of the hollow chamber up near the branches. And then about 3 males will be in the hollow below them. One male will position himself near the top, closest to the females. and he will defend that place against aggressive encounters from the other 1 or 2 males. This dominant male, he will father about half of the group's young, and the other 1 or 2 subordinate males that will be lower in the trunk will take up places near the entrance at the base, and these other males, they'll take up their places near the base of the chamber, near where the entrance is located, and they'll father the rest of the young, like the other half. The lowest male, positioned nearest the entrance, will father the fewest amount of young.
Okay, and being near the entrance is the most dangerous, right? If a predator's coming. So it's like very clear status indicator.
It's the least desirable spot.
Height in the tree is height in the family structure. Okay, interesting.
Yep, and then there will be other males in the vampire bat population who don't make it into a mixed male-female family unit. And if that doesn't happen, they'll roost alone in those bachelor groups I mentioned.
So they're not alone. They're together.
Yeah. You know what? Guys can be single, quote unquote, together. That's allowed.
They're together. They're alone together. Yeah. And females will rarely visit these male-only groups. So they're legit just like, doing their thing.
Living their best lives.
Yeah, living their best lives together.
Cute.
Right? And a female pup will stay in the group that she was born in as she grows, her natal group, unless her mother leaves or dies. Whereas male pups will leave early on. So females within a family unit can span several generations.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. You stay in the same space as your mom and your grandma. I'm curious. You said they don't necessarily stay in the group if their mom leaves or dies. What happens when their mom dies?
They may migrate to a different group.
Okay, I gotcha. I didn't know if there was like a multi-generational step in of family rearing kind of a thing that happened.
Oh, I'm not sure, but I'll get more into the altruism between unrelated bats, but it seems like it's kind of communal to an extent. So as she grows, the female will stay and the males will leave. But if the female never left, a family unit would be comprised of only related females, and that's not the case. So although adults in a family unit often stay together, the group will change when new females join. And this happens about every 2 years, just because a female may move on from a family group because, like I said, they may be bonded for 12 years, but that is not always the case. It's not always that long. So she may move on. Her mother may have died. There may be various circumstances where an unrelated female is introduced. And so it's not all related females. It's a mix of family members and unrelated females. And scientists talk about this by calling these matrilines. So matrilineal is descendant through grandmothers and mothers. Yeah. So a family unit of bats will be comprised of several different matrilines.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. And now, finally, on to the funnest part of the episode.
What makes them queer?
Yeah. Okay. So there are several aspects of the species that could be considered queer. And the first one I'll talk about is social cooperation. So life as a vampire bat is actually very precarious. They are so close to dying at any moment in time.
Really?
Yes.
My babies.
Right? Because bats are so tiny and they're so warm-blooded and they lose lots of heat because they don't have feathers and they don't have a full coat of fur, like the membranes in their wings don't have fur. So their energy requirements are huge.
Dang.
They require so much energy to just stay warm enough to keep their bodies going.
Wow, that's so sad.
Right? So a vampire bat in a single meal will consume 50 to 100% of its body weight in blood.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Its entire body weight.
Right. However, up to 1/3 of bats may not obtain a meal on any particular night. But since they require so much energy, missing a meal is very dangerous for them.
Okay.
Because they can starve so fast because they're metabolizing so much. The time it takes for a vampire bat to die of starvation is only 60 hours. So if they miss food for 60 hours, by then the bat will have lost 1/4 of its body weight, and it can no longer maintain the necessary body temperature to stay alive.
They're like flying guinea pigs.
So this energy requirement is thought to actually be the limit on the bat's range. It's found in all of these places, but the places it's not found are places where it gets below 10 degrees Celsius at any point in time, because anything colder than that will freeze them because they cannot burn enough energy at any point to keep themselves warm enough in those cold temperatures.
Oh, no.
So to overcome this challenge, because like Elizabeth said, 1/3 of them don't die every 2 days from missing meals.
Yeah, that would not work out.
No, that would not work out for them very well. So to overcome this challenge and survive, vampire bats have developed an elaborate food sharing system. And food is shared between a mother and her pup, as well as between adult bats. Food is transferred from one bat, regurgitating into the mouth of another. And of all of the food transfers that occur, 70% of them are from mother to pup, supplementing the mother's lactation. The other 30% of food transfers include adult females feeding pups they are not related to. So that's the kind of communal aspect I was talking about, Elizabeth.
I'm sure that's helpful for like first-time mothers.
Yeah, or like if you're out to find a meal and you can't find one, like not only do you not get food, but your baby wouldn't. So then your neighbor steps up. That's really cute.
Right. Unrelated females will kind of take on a sort of parenting role with pups that they aren't related to. And also in that 30% are adult females feeding other adult females. And then very rarely, the least common are adult males feeding offspring. And they didn't even mention males feeding other males or males feeding females. So in order to solicit a donation of food, a hungry bat will lick the donor on her wing and then lick her on the lips, and then the donor may offer food.
Oh, that's pretty cute. Like a little kiss.
Right? A little kiss on the wing and then a little kiss on the lips, and then they're like, yeah, I'll feed you. Here you go. I love you.
That's so cute.
Right? And some adult females are said to have this is in quotes, special friendship.
Oh, special friendship, is it?
Yep, with unrelated females. So grooming and food sharing is something that's really only done with relatives.
Okay, so grooming is a similar, like a social thing?
Yep, it's a social thing. They spend a good portion of their time grooming. I think like 20% of their day. But it only happens between related bats. So a mother and her young, related females in the same roost will also do this. And then it's also done between these bonded, unrelated females who are special friends.
Special friends.
That's not an aspect of the male-female relationship.
Gal pals. I love it.
Yep, they're gal pals. And they only say special friendship because these companions will share the same roost. Like I said, they will groom one another, which is something that is usually only done with related bats. They will huddle together and they'll go foraging with each other.
Oh, they do a lot of things together.
Yeah.
They kiss and share blood.
Yeah, they kiss each other on the lips.
And then share food, and then sometimes they go out hunting together.
Yeah.
That's pretty cute, honestly. Like, what else do you need in a partner?
Right.
So they live together, they cuddle together, and they find food together. Adorable. Dream team right there.
And associations like these between special friends can last for up to 5 to 10 years or more. And some females bond with several different female companions simultaneously. So they can be like poly queer platonic.
Oh, I love it.
Right? Because even though they're close, overt sexual activity has not yet been observed between them. So between 1/2 and 3/4 of all companionships or close associations in bats are between females. And then food sharing is imperative to vampire bat survival, like I said. If they didn't help each other, annual vampire bat mortality would be around 80% based on the chance of missing a meal 2 nights in a row. But in actuality, the annual mortality rate is only 25% because of this food sharing system they have that gets bats through the times when they can't acquire food on their own.
Wow. I mean, that's still a high mortality rate, but like, I'm glad they're there for each other so concretely.
Sharing's caring.
This species literally would not continue to exist. Like, their mortality rate would be too high for them to even remain in existence because the females only have 1 pup per pregnancy. So the species literally exists because they have this sharing system and they rely on each other.
I love that.
Adorable.
Oh,
right?
My heart.
Yeah. So like I said, though the female special bond has not yet been observed to be explicitly sexual, the males of this species form explicitly sexual same-sex relationships.
Yes. All right.
So male vampire bats participate in sexual grooming and licking of one another. The two males will hang upside down belly to belly, both with erections. One male will then work his tongue over the entire body of the other male, paying particular attention to licking the other male's genitals.
How long are their tongues?
That's such a good question.
Maybe they're really good at, like, maybe they do a lot of crunches while they're sitting upside down. So maybe they curl up to get, like, their ankles. I don't know. Sometimes one male will masturbate himself while licking his partner, using his free foot to rub his own penis. And then among vampire bats in captivity, some males seem to show preference for same-sex sex because they will bypass receptive females in order to interact sexually with other males instead.
I think that's about as definitive as you can get.
Yeah.
Those be really cute gay vampire bats.
Right. Although it's not known whether this preference for males is temporary or long-lasting.
But that doesn't make it not real.
Sexuality is fluid.
Exactly. Meaningful relationships can be short.
Yeah. Right. And yeah, that's what I've got.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty hard to argue with. That's definitely pretty gay, y'all. Pretty gay.
Queerly Natural was created by Ilana Zeitzer, Elizabeth Furman, and Hannah Roden, with music by Megfist20. Thank you, Megfist, for putting your music in the Creative Commons. You are very talented. Visual design for the show is done by Ilana Zeitzer. To get updates about the podcast, follow us at Queerly Natural on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We also upload all of our sources and episode transcripts to our website, queerlynatural.com. Above all else, if you liked what you heard today, tell your friends. Thank you so much for listening, and keep an eye out for our next episode coming February 25th. Until next time, stay queer and remember, queerly, it's natural.